Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and this is the Locker Gnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short, your daily dose of tech news, gadget views, and answers that you can use. And before any more of you tell me, live.pirillo.com is down for the count. I don't know if the live feed over there is going to come back up because the Mac Mini that has been running the live feed for quite some time, pretty much 24/7 straight since I got the Mac Mini, it's dead. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to replace it. Yes, I can replace it, but I'm going to see if I can find a sponsor. If you even want to have the live feed going on with the chat room and the tweets and the back of my head. To tell you the truth, I haven't been too sure on what I'd be able to do with the live feed anymore. It's still there, or well, was there. It's just that I wanted to have some kind of audio feed coming through that wasn't me necessarily, but geeky information. The problem is everybody wants to have their own channel. So unless I can find a sponsor for the Mac Mini, it's not going to happen again. I'd give just about anything to that sponsor just to have that live feed get up again. I'm not going to start an Indiegogo or Kickstarter project or anything like that because, I don't know, it'd make me feel kind of weird. And unfortunately, the software that I would use to composite all those elements that has made the live feed what the live feed was, I need a Mac. I can't use a PC. I even looked into using the Edge VS8 mini PC from Sapphire. The problem is, no FireWire ports. Yep, the camera that works just fine connected to that computer is a FireWire camera. I know, I'm the last person to use one. So what do you think? Should I go out and try to find a way to offset my costs? Do you even want to have the live video feed anymore? Yes, I'm absolutely looking for your feedback. I can't entertain people 24/7, unfortunately. The vlogs work well enough, as do TLDRs, and paying to repair the Mac Mini won't be worth the cost because I might as well just apply that money to a newer Mac Mini. So that's the sad news. The good news, I got a new gadget! This is the Innova ProTag, and you can protect your belongings with it. It's a Bluetooth device. Imagine putting it in your wallet or purse, and if you walk away from either one, if you have it connected to your Bluetooth device, like your phone, it's going to emit a signal. And by signal, I mean alarm. ProTag slides into anything you wish to secure, like a bag, wallet, passport, etc. Plus, it'll track stolen phones using SMS tracking and SIM change alert. That sucker is thin! And it charges by way of USB. How? Where? Right there. You might be thinking, I don't need this, until you actually need it. In fact, the puppy sitter that we used to watch Wicket and Pixie while I was away in New Orleans, and Diana, my wife, is still in Texas, she just had her iPhone stolen. It's an epidemic. If she had a ProTag, that might not have happened, or at least she would have been able to recover the device. You did realize that's a problem, specifically with iOS devices. They're valuable. On the black market, they could fetch up to $200, which for something that wasn't purchased to begin with, at least from the person selling it, that's a big profit. The real kick in the pants is these phones that are being stolen aren't necessarily being used in the US, they're being sold internationally. Makes me kind of wonder what the next iPhone needs to have, and that would have to be something that would make it more difficult to profit from if stolen. And that's how you know you have a good product, if it's good enough to steal. Like this pen, which I'm sure someone's going to walk away with at some point in the future. I know you're not a fan of stealing, but I bet you're a fan of discounts. How about saving 92% on the Mac Productivity Bundle 4.0, jam-packed with 9 seriously powerful Mac apps, plus certified Adobe training courses? Dude, that's a bargain! It comes with Camtasia, Toolbox for Pages, Mac Internet Security, Text Soap 7, Logo Design Studio Pro 2, Disk Aid, Concealer, Train Simple Design courses, and Sketcher? Plus, as always, you can sign in to earn $10 for each friend you refer. So even if you don't like this Locker Gnome deal on deals.lockergnome.com, as we linked in this video's description, maybe you know someone who would like it. And be sure to sign up for the email newsletter. Technically speaking, we have 2 email newsletters. The Deals email newsletter and then the regular old Locker Gnome newsletter found on lockergnome.com. Tell me you've subscribed, because, you know, we're sending one out every weekday. Email isn't dead! But you are to me if you haven't subscribed yet. I've been enjoying my Jabra Revos as you've seen them pop up in the Pirillo vlogs over the past week as I've been traveling around. And for the most part, they've been working well. I've run into a few snags, but am overall happy with them. And as far as those snags are concerned, I'm communicating directly with Jabra to fix them. But let's say you don't want what I have. We've found the 5 best over-ear headphones for an Audio-Technica microphone system just for you, including the ATH-AN C7B, the V-Moda Crossfade LP, the ATH-M50, the Shure SRH-840, and Sennheiser HD-280 Pro. Do your ears a favor. Upgrade your headphones now. I mean, sure, the default earbuds that come with any device are okay, but usually not amazing. Do any of you guys work at home like me? Are you looking for some home office tools to transform your business? Well, I like working at home, and maybe at some point in the future, you'll like working at home too. You can still interact with people, it's just that this is not just play for me. Yes, it's fun, but it's also work. I have a business to run while sitting down and not running. I'm an infotainer. I get paid to create content for you and or, well, any other business who would want to hire me to help them create content for their community. And I can do most of that work right here. Instead of using a chalkboard or a whiteboard, you could use something like Idea Paint and paint an entire wall as a whiteboard. Did you even know you could do that? It's kind of neat. I haven't done it yet though, because I tend not to write things down. I also recommend, even at home, an encrypted network and network-attached storage or off-site backup, an all-in-one Wi-Fi enabled printer like I have, and I know it's more of a printer, it's got a scanner attached to it, but I tend to use my phone as my primary scanner. Every other minute I get an email from one of you asking which case I have on my iPhone. It really doesn't matter because it's not great. It's just a generic jellyfish one. I've mentioned that before. But maybe you're looking for some stylish armor protection for your iPhone. I can save you 50% on carbon fiber. As you get older, carbon fiber becomes more important. In fact, if I don't get my carbon fiber intake every day, it's difficult for me to output. Google Now has been released for iOS. I've used Google Now on my Nexus 4, and I appreciate that the service exists and that they've brought it to iOS. It's just that I don't live my entire life in Google. I use Google, but my calendar's not hosted on Google. My email's not really hosted on Google. Like, everything that the Google Now application on either platform could bring me has never been anything other than annoying. You want to know something that's really funny? Many Android users still can't use Google Now, and I can as an iOS user. Doesn't that upset you? The implementation is just about as clean as could be expected, and I appreciate the granular level of control over the features. The implementation of Google Now inside the Google app on iOS is about as good as could be expected. I certainly do appreciate the granular level of control over the various features in Google Now. I can toggle various cards like weather, traffic, next appointment, flights, Gmail, travel, public transit, sports, places, public alerts, movies, stocks, news updates, photo spot, and birthdays. Again, I really don't use Google services enough to make any of these cards useful. And please, for the love of God and all that is holy, stop comparing Google Now to Siri. Siri responds to my commands. Google Now just gives me what it thinks I need. Mind you, Siri annoys me almost as much as Google Now does. It's just that I know that they're completely different types of services that exist for two completely different reasons. To put a finer point on it, check out what Google Now tells me. Check back soon. More cards will appear when the time is right. Siri doesn't do that. Siri responds to what you want. Google Now responds to what it thinks you want. And that brings me to something I wanted to dive in a little bit further on today. Apple is not Google. Two different companies, two completely different business models. And before I forget, this tangent is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. If you want to save money on your next purchase, email me. I'll send you my latest list of coupons. My email address, chris@Perillo.com. It was this comment posted earlier on one of my Google Plus comment threads by Adam Slobodian that made me want to cover this topic with you today. He says, "This is what I love about Google. They are about sharing and getting their products in as many hands as possible, regardless of which mobile ecosystem you use. Would be nice if other companies, Apple, would offer some of their applications to other mobile ecosystems, but that won't ever happen." Well, of course it won't ever happen. Apple's in the business of selling you hardware. For the most part, Google's an internet company, a software company. Of course they don't care what platform you use. And trust me, I'm not a fan of everything Apple does. I think iTunes sucks. But they did port it to Windows for one reason and one reason alone. There are a lot of people using Windows, or at least A lot of people were using Windows at the time. So it's not that Apple needs to port their software to alternative platforms. They don't make a lot of money with the software. Now, they make a lot of money with the apps that are sold through their app store, but that's only available through the hardware that you buy. At least not anytime soon. They may port certain features to alternative platforms, but with the way the industry's growing, using the web more and more rather than individual apps to keep data moving back and forth between platforms, maybe Apple will change their mind. I honestly don't think that many people are screaming for Apple's software to be available on many platforms, because once they do that, well, why would you want to buy their hardware, which they make money on? A lot of money. They're very, very profitable. Just think about Microsoft for a moment. They ported OneNote to iOS. They also ported Xbox Smart Glass. It makes sense. There are a lot of people they want using Microsoft's ecosystem, but not necessarily needing them to use Microsoft's hardware. Maybe if Apple made more money in internet services, it would be a possibility of porting software to alternative platforms. Say like a music streaming service, because why would they care how you purchase that music streaming service so long as you were using Apple's music streaming service? So please, before you get into the next argument talking about platform wars, remember, these are completely different companies with completely different goals. Well, no, okay, maybe they have the same goals. Different ways of approaching the goals, and that is to make money. And I hate to say it, but that's another reason why I like using iOS, because a lot of the software out there is available for iOS. It might be a different story if I used more of Google's services, but that is not likely to happen. I'm still kind of nervous over what they did with Reader, as well as FeedBurner, and how many other apps I would have bought into, even if I didn't spend any money. If I put all my data in one service that Google shut down, that would suck. Oh, by the way, I rent an Exchange server every month for my email and calendaring, so I do spend money, but not always with Apple. Because believe me, trusting that Apple is going to have all their services up and running at any point in time is about as crazy as believing that Google's always going to keep every single thing that they launch open all the time. And speaking of that, tomorrow I may very well dive into why it's not easy for people to switch from using an iPhone to an Android device. And so if you want to hear me dive into that topic further, you can stay tuned if you haven't already subscribed to this channel. Thanks again for liking and sharing this video with everybody you know and keeping that conversation going. We may disagree, that's okay, but let's keep things positive and respect one another, because that makes YouTube a happy place. And I'm more happy with you here than I would be if you weren't here. We'll see you later.